Hello there. Good morning. It's Susan Cook with Rialto Academy, and I am here today with the infamous Johnny Moe. Hi, Johnny. Good
Hey,
morning.
how you doing? Thank you. Thank you for having me. Good morning.
Good morning. So, Johnny and I have been chatting over the last few weeks and become fast friends. Number one reason why is because we have a heart for agents, and we come from similar backgrounds, and as far as being leadership in a brokerage. So I'm going to just kind of turn it over to Johnny. Johnny, why don't you just tell us a little bit about your real estate background?
Sure. So I've been licensed for 16 years, worked for the balloon, worked for the Kool-Aid. Now I work for the cloud. Along the way, I learned a lot about real estate. I always performed at a high level, Hall of Fame real quickly. But what I realized was there was a revolving door of agents, and it always troubled me until one day the light went off when I was at the Kool-Aid, and they said, "Hey, listen, if you're going to be on our leadership council, we need you to train." So that's how it all started. And I started to train there, do my classes, and being a
Mm-hmm.
serial entrepreneur my whole life. Well, being a realtor or a real estate agent, you're basically an entrepreneur. I noticed a lot of deficiencies because no matter where I went, no matter what company I worked for, no matter what training I took, nobody ever talked about the failure pain points of agents, which is business management and financial literacy.
Yeah, that's true. Most agents do die broke. They never get past that roller coaster of being unemployed after every transaction.
Yeah.
So
You know
yeah.
what? One of the things is they get into this business, they're coming from a salaried or a 9 to 5 position. So they have the mentality that when they get that $1,000 paycheck, it's all theirs. So
Hmm.
they're ingrained with this financial blueprint that they can spend all that money, which they can, right? Because they probably have a 401k set up or whatever, taxes are taken out, health insurance might be taken out. When we get that 5 or 10 or $15,000 commission check, it's not all ours. So you have
Hmm.
to actually change your whole programming mindset to understand, hey, that's not all my money.
Right, right. So what solution have you come up with for that deficiency in our industry?
Oh boy, so I've been training this for about 5 years now, and what I do is, one of the greatest books ever, and I think it should be required reading before you even take the real estate class is Michael Gerber's The E-Myth. Michael
Hmm.
Gerber breaks business down to three unique levels: entrepreneur, management, and technician. So
Hmm.
I created a set of principles called UPAD, UPAD, which stands for understanding, planning, action, and discipline. And the management level, which is so deficient by with so many agents and so many brokerages, even you really got to understand, hey, what is the entrepreneurial vision here? What are we trying to accomplish? So now I understand what we're trying to accomplish. I need to make a plan to do it. And then you take that plan, and that plan should be broken down to even daily action steps, right? Weekly goals, daily action steps. That moves over down to the technician level, and we put it into action, and then have the discipline to do it and track your results. And what that does is creates accountability back to the management level. And that's where success comes from. Now,
Hmm.
the other thing that you got to understand is on that management level is your financial branch, is a CFO, is your comptroller, right? Is your accounts receivable, accounts payable, bookkeeping. You got to understand that and get into the habit of breaking commission checks down properly, having two checking accounts, one called business, one called personal. And as the money comes into your business account, you need to allocate 25% to taxes. Keep 20% in there for your business because your CRM company doesn't care that your broker didn't have a closing. Facebook doesn't care if you're running ads, right? And you're broke, your card don't work, your ads stop. And then you have to really should account for it, makes good habits to account 10 to 15% to a rainy day fund savings. So in case you do have a bad month, you have something to lean upon. And then roughly about 40% goes over into your personal account. So let's go back to that $10,000 paycheck. $10,000 actually equates to about $4,000 in personal money to pay your bills. That's what we need to be focusing on when we build our goals. Because when people come in and say, "Oh, I want to make 100 grand," do you want to make 100 grand net or 100 grand gross? They don't know. Oh,
Hmm.
I just want to make 100 grand. Well, then we got to talk a little bit deeper about that. So getting further, deeper understanding about the financial implications about what your goals are to ensure maybe it costs you $112,000 a year to live. So 100,000 that's not going to work. So we have to sit down through budgets and really get into an understanding of what you want to make. And then we can go plan from there.
Yeah. So you've developed some software for brokers, independent brokers and teams and individual agents, right? So tell me a little bit more about that.
So when we would do the business planning clinic, I said to my OP and team leader, I said, hey, man, this is a great class, but when agents leave here, all they have is a spreadsheet. What are we using? And they told me a system that was out then, which I don't throw anybody under the bus, but it was an antiquated spreadsheet-based system. So I said, we got to have something better. We got to have something a little more dynamic they can use on your cell phone on the go, right? So I sat down with what's called a UXS, a user experience strategist. I had sold him a house 13 years prior, 14 years prior, and we remained friends. And I've been to him 100 times. And this is the first time he said, wow, this makes sense. So what we developed was a software or what we call a SaaS in the business. And, you know, it's basically a mobile responsive app. Good. That's a rabbit hole we can go down, but I'm not going to go down. And basically what it does is you type in how much money you want to make gross commission wise, hence MoreGCI. You want to make commission wise, what your average sale price is, what your commission is. And it gives you a roadmap on what you need to be focusing on, how many warm and cold contacts you need to be making, how many unique and qualified appointments that you need to be running per week, per month, per year. It tracks your pipeline. It tracks your under contracts. It tracks your closings. And what happens there is it's tracking your goals throughout the year. So you know in the middle of the year whether you need to adjust and turn it up and you're deficient on anything, or, hey, man, I'm on track to do my goals. I'm going to do exactly the same thing I've been doing.
Right. Right. And I loved that. When I looked at it, I was like, oh, wow. You know, the agents that use this and can drill it down to how many appointments do I need to have this week? And whatever you call it. I interviewed an agent yesterday and she calls it stories for her team, you know, so they track how many stories they get every week, which is appointments. You know, it all goes down to how many people are you talking to every week? Yeah. So this tool right here would actually tell you, you would say, okay, I want to net 125,000. And it would drill down to the appointments that you need every week to get that done.
Well, what we like to do is say that 125,000, then it's going to cost you between splits and operating capital and taxes and everything. So that 125 really is like 175. And then we're going to put that 175 in there. Or 180 in there, whatever that unique number comes out to that you have to hit in order to get your 40%, right?
Right.
And it's going to tell you, here's what you need to do. And what it does is coming in on Monday, a lot of agents come in on Monday, they come in, they talk about their open houses. Did you see the football game? Oh my God, did you see American Voice? Next thing you know, it's 11 o'clock. They haven't done anything. They're heading out to lunch. They're like, oh, I really need to get a deal. I need to, you know what? I think I'm going to go through my CRM later. Where what we teach is you come in on Monday, you work only on high yield activities, you shut everybody else off, and that's discipline. And if you need to get 3 appointments, unique and qualified appointments, just like the MREA page 180 and 181 says, first appointment only, unique and qualified, real buyer, real seller, that's pre-qualified. If you got to get 3 appointments, that's it. That's what you focus on. Now, if you need to make $250,000 gross commission income a year to get your goal, that's a huge number that most people don't have the financial blueprint to wrap their head around, right? Because of sociology and psychology and stuff, that's a big number and seems unattainable because a lot of people never made that in their life. So now all of a sudden, when I look at that and say that 250 has been reduced down to 3 unique and qualified appointments per week, 25 warm contacts a week, which is 5 per day. 100 cold I'm just pulling numbers out of my hat right now because they're easy math. 100 cold contacts, that's 10 per day. So now you know you need to make 5 warm contacts and 10 cold contacts. You have 10 cold two-way conversations about real estate. You have 5 warm two-way conversations about real estate. You'll hit your goal.
Yeah. And it just comes down to that, you know, just talking to 5 warm. So define that 5 warm. Because a lot of people don't know what 5-worm is.
Sure, your sphere of influence, past clients, your networking partners, or your power circle. Now, what a power circle is in fairness, Gary Keller calls it, I believe, the Allied Forces. Brian Buffini calls it your inner circle. I call it my power circle. We all have to have our own unique shtick, right? So I call it your power circle. That's a mortgage person, financial advisor, insurance person, and an attorney, divorce attorney, probate attorney. Those types of attorneys are great. Now, you have a core collective, and what you're doing is you kind of all have the same end consumer, the same target market. So you're working to promote and cross-promote each other and get into people's second levels. You go to networking events together, and you work the room. You don't go there to drink beers with each other and shoot the breeze. You go to divide and conquer the room and get to meet 4, 5, 6, 7 people that allows you to follow up, right? Mm-hmm. So reaching out to them, all those people, your core group, your power circle, your outer circle, which is like the roof of the electrician, the floor guy, those types of people, restaurant owners, your referral source, which is your sphere of influence, past clients, family, friends, those types of people, neighbors.
Yeah.
And why that's important? You want to know why that's important? Everybody's chasing internet leads and who's got the best online and what's the best portal and how much money. But NAR put a report out that I used in coaching a couple weeks ago, and it was based upon 2017. 54% of buyers and 64% of sellers came from somebody that they knew somehow, or they were connected to, they were referred to, or they were a neighbor. 4%, 9% respectively came from online. So where do you want to spend your time? The lion's share is in the sphere. That's what I like to say. That's where I want to focus my time. So by reaching out and having those warm contacts greatly increases your chance.
Yeah, it does. It's just, it's not rocket science. It's those belly to belly conversations.
Yeah. You know what the problem is, Susan? I'm going to say it. I'm an agent, and I say, so I'm including myself in what I'm about to say. So I'm not picking on agents. And I say things people are afraid to say. And that's kind of just part of the accountability aspect and the discipline aspect. We're lazy. We have become lazy, right? We hide behind the computer. We've almost become antisocial. But I can tell you that the agents that are social, that practice the principles that were out prior to 2004 and 6, when Zillow and Facebook came out, are ultra successful. Because they're becoming members of the community. They're doing online community pages. So whether you're online or offline, people are seeing you. Don't get me wrong, buying Zillow leads and all that other stuff, or portal leads or Facebook leads, it helps. Okay. It's unless you have the systems in place, though, you could be wasting money, and you could be taking that time meeting people and creating a more sustained business that doesn't cost as much to run.
Yeah. And I've been spending a lot of my time over the last few months just exploring some of the tools that I've acquired, to get free leads. You just have to have a way to capture them. It's just another stream. But more than anything else, it is those conversations. And you've developed a way for us to track how many of those we need to have every day. And
I'll tell you what, as a coach, as somebody that's been coached, somebody that's been coached in real estate and in business, it all comes down to one thing. My coaches, my mentors always ask me, where are you with your numbers? Because if you are deficient in your goal, you can directly relate that to deficiencies in your activity.
Yeah. It all goes down to activity.
Right. And if you're behind 8 appointments, but your goal is lacking 10%, well, now I need to not get 3 a week. I need to get 4 a week for the next 8 weeks. So that allows you to look at that and then turn on the afterburners just a little bit.
Yeah. So it's it just makes sense. Now, the implementation is what the issue is. And so tell me how your solution, MoreGCI or agent onboarding, is the new 2.0.
Yeah.
Johnny Mo 2.0.
Yeah. So we get the software, which is MoreGCI.com, and then we have the training, which is agentonboarding.com. Yeah.
Uh-huh. So tell me how that is going to provide a solution for brokers out there, team owners, agents who are attracting people, mentoring, coaching. Tell me how that works.
So basically, agent onboarding is I created something called the Agent Success Kit. And what the agents, and everybody loves the Agent Success Kit. I don't have one here. It's a box that comes that says reach your goals and everything else like that on it. So you get a tangible. There's 3 books in there: Launch, Grow, and Soar. And then there's the Power Planner in there. So now we're distributing the 2019 because the year is almost over. Mm-hmm. What's in there is lessons on business management, lessons in there about finance, lessons in there on leverage and how to properly leverage, because every successful mentor that I've ever had, every successful multimillionaire, one of my mentors was one of the sharks. One of my mentors was a previous CFO of the second largest fund company, right? They all tell me the same thing. It's all about leverage. It's all about leverage. If your net worth, your hourly worth is $300, $400, maybe $100 an hour, whatever the individual is, you got to know that. Why are you doing $20 an hour activities? Have somebody else leverage, have them do the $20 an hour activities. And then you focus on your $200, $300, $400 an hour activities, right? That's the conversations. So when you can have other people doing that. So inside there's a whole bunch of lessons, but also something unique, which is another MoreGCI exclusive, is the lead generation quadrant. Now, the lead generation quadrant, all the leads come from 4 unique places: some form of networking, some form of phone calls, some form of online, whether it's social or portal, and then some form of traditional marketing, mailers, billboards, door knocking, those types of things, which in some areas are antiquated, in some areas work, right? But the whole goal is to find out what you're good at, what your likes are, by doing a SWOT analysis. You ever hear of any real estate coach saying you got to do a SWOT analysis?
No. Tell me what that means.
Strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. You got to know what your strengths are. You got to know what your weaknesses are so you can fix your weaknesses. You got to know what your opportunities are and what the threats are so you can have a plan to overcome each one or exploit one. Right?
Yeah.
So now all of a sudden, hey, I'm really good on the phone. Hey, I don't have a lot of money to do any advertising, so I'm going to invest in a dialer that has data in it, and I'm going to spend $149 and spend 6 hours a day on the phone. There's plenty of examples of successful people out there that did that. There's other people out there that really suck at cold calling, but they're really good networking, and they walk in a room and everybody loves them. So then you got to start to build a strategy, a marketing strategy to divine your target market to utilize your strength. And that might be networking. Good friend of mine, all he does is networking. That's it. That's his business strategy, business by referral and networking. The kid does over $50 million a year. So he's doing something right.
Yeah, I've seen them. I've seen agents, brokers doing that too. So your solution, the agent onboarding, is designed for the single agent, but also for the brokerage that wants to give some training to their agents without having that, being on top of them, right?
Yeah. So what I noticed out there was, and I onboard some large associations, some smaller ones too. What I noticed out there is a recurring theme: punt, baptism by fire, call it whatever you want. They put them in there. And then, there's always this fight between the brokerages and the associations. The broker feels like they should be responsible for training. The association's like, yeah, but our recurring revenue stream is dwindling. We stayed in this 87% failure rate. So what I noticed was, especially indie brokers, they don't have, when you're at a big company, they have big money, right? Because you're paying in royalties and big splits. So they have all this money to provide particular training. And even their trainings don't talk about business. Even their trainings aren't really drilled down to find. They're all about, hey, you all go do the same thing. Imagine having 500 agents in an area all making phone calls on the same day, right? I mean, that's overwhelming. So what we created was the ability for independents, teams, any kind of brokerage of any size that wants a different training that really I haven't had one negative review. I haven't had one person come back to me. And I talk to everybody that I train. It's all been positive. They're like, they love the training because I'll get in there. I'll show you how to create a community page and why it's important and the steps to do. I'll show you how to create a phone call strategy or a networking strategy. These things are all important because nobody talks about them. They all give you the taste of the gravy. And so brokers have the ability, agents have the ability to have a one-time purchase, get the program. Brokers have the ability to get the program on a recurring basis. So all their agents have access to the course 24/7. So imagine you're bringing in 2, 3, 4 new agents a month, maybe 10 or 12 or 15. What onboarding program do you have? Right. And then for associations, we also have, I mean, it's more because there's going to be more users. The same thing, they can share out their private link to agents coming on. And we also built the course out for loan officers because I firmly believe that loan officers can double their production if they stop thinking that agents need more open house flyers and they had some coursework. They could go in there and say, hey, listen, I have a course. I would like to get you on the course. You're going to learn a ton from it. Hey, Mr. Mrs. Broker, Mr. Mrs. Owner, Mr. Mrs. Office Manager, listen, I would like to bring forth this training to your office. And as a result, your agent's going to become more productive. I only ask that I get a shot at some of the loans, right? I want to be able to be seen here a little bit more, right? And
that's been done so many times. You know, there was something I used to use when I was a brand new agent that linked the loan officer and I together. Mm-hmm. And it's a beautiful thing when you can work through a portal with your loan officer. You know, you don't have to call every day and say, okay, what about this one, this one, this one, this one, this one, you know? So yeah, that's a good solution. It really is. And they're providing value.
Yeah.
They're providing value to the relationship and for the opportunity to work with you. It's, you know, win-win.
Be the leader. Win-win. That's what I coach. Yeah. That's what I coach LOs. Be the leader.
Yeah. Yeah.
Meet with them once a month, do a training, right?
Mm-hmm.
We can have that training built out. We had a couple of brokers that created a 16-week course that they do based upon my material. So they're going to focus on book 1, chapter 3 and book 2, chapter 4 this week, because it both talks about referrals, community events, and those types of things. So they sit down, they go through the coursework, they watch the video, and then they collaborate.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we want. Because when people start putting a brain trust together, no matter what the industry is, no matter what the conversation is, that brain trust creates great ideas.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And okay, well, so is there anything else that you want to talk about your product? I noticed your sign back there. Tell me what your sign says back there besides just accountability.
Accountability plus discipline equals success.
Awesome.
Right. And I firmly believe that. I firmly believe what lacks in this business is accountability, because agents don't realize that they can sit there and say, I know I own a business. Do you? Right? Because Robert Kiyosaki, Rich Dad Poor Dad author, has his quadrant that has employee, self-employed, and that's where most agents are. They own a job, business owner, and the purpose of having a business owner is to be able to maybe take a step back and the business still operates without them, and then investor, right? Mm-hmm. So most agents say that they own a business, claim that they own a business, but they're no different than Bob's Plumbing. And if Bob goes on vacation, there's no plumbing going on at Bob's Plumbing. Right? So you got to set up a system, you got to set up leverage, you got to create relationships and all these other things in order to be able to really run a business. If you want to get your goals, you got to execute as a manager. And managers in business, no matter which business we're in, managers' main job is to keep the employee organized, motivated, and hold them accountable to reach their goals.
Yeah. So I'm going to put a link in YouTube for the affiliate, I think, that you gave me this morning. Yeah. So how else can people get in touch with you if they're interested in your service or, you know, anything? Because it will be out there. It'll be out on the wide web.
So they can reach out to me on MoreGCI.com, GCIacademy.com, which is where all of our training products and everything else are. And there's pages, links to pages that talk about each one specifically. They can go to agentonboard.com, take a look at, the course offerings and such. They can follow me on social at johnnymotraining.com.
What about your podcast? Are you still giving podcasts?
I do have a podcast, but man, it's done through Anchor, so I don't know. I got to get a redirect link to it. But but they do link it over to iTunes and Google Play. But if you search on the Anchor app or the Anchor website for John Masillo or Johnny Mo, it should pop up, and that's really awesome. But here's something cool. What I also do besides the podcast is I learned this from somebody else. I take my podcasts and I put them on my YouTube page. So you can put them there too. So if you go to YouTube/MoreGCI, you'll find that there.
Awesome. Okay. Well, anything else you want to tell us, Johnny?
Really, I think most agents, when they tap into the management side of their business, when they really have a clear, defined vision, and that's a big thing. You hear all this talk about, what's your big why? What's your big why? Man, put that to the side. What's your vision?
What's your vision? What's your purpose?
And then what's your purpose, right? What's your vision? What's your purpose? What do you want to accomplish? Why? Right? And go deep. Go deep. If you only want to make $100,000 a year, it doesn't matter. That's your vision. That's cool. If you want to make $500,000 a year so you can fund some other aspect of your life, that's cool, right? But know what it is that you want to do, because if you don't know, who does?
That's right. That's right.
Take control of yourself, because nobody's going to do it for you.
No, they're not going to knock on the door and pull you out from in front of that computer and take you out and say, show me houses. That's what I used to tell my agents all the time. Get out there. Get out there.
Here's the thing that a lot of agents wrap their heads around. Oh, I'm a realtor. I mean, don't come at me with that. Okay. That's one pin that you wear inside of your business. I'm not knocking realtors. Okay. I'm not knocking NAR or any of that stuff. That's one pin. What you are and what your business function is a salesperson. What do salespeople do?
They talk to people. Yeah.
They take the fight out there, right? You got to make connections and bridges to people. Otherwise, if you think you're an order taker, you can go work at a furniture store or a car lot, work 12 hours a day, and you don't have to do anything except convert that person that comes in. We don't have that luxury. We have to go find that person. That's why you can make a bunch of money. A whole ton of money. Because you're not sitting there for 12 hours a day waiting. Oh, I'm up. Hey, Bobby, that's your up. Right? Yeah, we don't have that. We're building relationships to people. That's why we make a lot of money. Think about it. Break it down like this. If you sell shoes at Macy's, I mean, you get a little hourly rate, right? But then you get like 10% for every pair of shoes you sell. So you're going to sell 10 pairs of shoes a day to make, let's say, $100 a day, right? Yes, and sell 10 pairs of shoes to make $100 a day. If you sell cars, you might make, with everything all said and done, maybe like $100, right? $125. So you got to sell a car a day to make $100. We get paid nothing a day, right? We got to sell 2, 3, 4, 5 houses in order to make our theoretic $100 a day. So we have to do a lot more work. The paychecks are fewer and further between, but that means we have to build more and more relationships. But the thing is, we make a lot more than most car salespeople and shoe salespeople. We have to do more work, and that more work is making connections to people. You're not going to just do a mailer. You're not just going to run a Facebook ad. You're not just going to dial one time. You have to engage in consistent activity, time-blocked activity every single day. Hopefully, it's at least 1 hour, upwards to 4. And build connections. Have lunch with people. Go to after-hours events, right? And when you have a clear definition of how many conversations you need to have every single day, then you can go have those conversations and mark them off on a list. And if you get done by 12, take the rest of the day off.
Yep. Well, Johnny, I have really enjoyed your passion and your enthusiasm for the real estate agent and teaching them. And thank you so much for being on this interview with me today. I really appreciate it.
Anytime. Thank you.
Okay. It'll be on YouTube, so look for it. Okay. Take care.
Happy selling, everybody.